Well, foreign policy-wise, I will give the Bongbong administration a failing grade. Super failing grade. Una-una, it is because hindi niya tinupad ang kanyang pinangako nung siya tumatakbo. So, binudol niya yung taong bayan. Hindi ba binoto siya dahil dun sa kanyang kanyang pangakong continuity ng mga polisiya ng Pangulo. Ikalawa, more than that, is nakikita natin yung epekto ng kanyang foreign policy right now. Hindi tayo mapakali. Hindi ba? Siya na rin na nagsabi, the Philippines is now in the front lines like in World War II. Sinabi niya yan sa speech niya sa Australia. So, if your country is in the front lines like in World War II, ibig sabihin, lagapak ka na. Lagapak ka na sa foreign policy. Bakit? Kasi bakit naging ganyan yung bansa mo? Sino sisisihin mo dyan? Alam mo naman si Duterte, ikaw ng presidente dyan. You alone should be blamed for what's going on. Hindi ba? Ikaw na nagsabi, frontlines na tayo katulad ng World War II. No one among us na nag-support sa ng election may pakiramdam na sasabihin mo yan sometime in your presidency, no? And it seems that you were even proud of it doon sa Australia. So it is actually the very, very symbol of how the foreign policy of this administration is leading the country not to a situation of development but further destruction. At ito nakikita natin ito, nagsalita ng taong bayan, ano ba ang kailangan nila? Ang kailangan nila is affordable goods and services, affordable food, hindi ba? Jobs, matigil na ang corruption, matigil na ang gutom, security and safety of the streets. These are the things that matter to everyday Filipinos. Concerns ng mga tao dyan, they are all internal, hindi ba? Kung susumahin mo yan, tatlo ang major concern ng mga Pilipino. One is price, second is jobs, and the third one is good governance, hindi ba? So, yun yung nakakaapekto talaga sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na buhay at yan dapat ang tutukan. I think it's better that they actually start liquidating their MOOEs with actual receipts.
May kaugnayan or mayroon bang kaugnayan itong nalalapit na halalan sa Estados Unidos dito sa ating bansa, considering itong frontrunner ngayon yata, kung di ako nagkakamali, itong dating Pangulong Donald Trump laban dito kay incumbent President Joe Biden?
Well, nakikita naman natin yung foreign policy pronouncements ni Donald Trump, ni former US President Donald Trump, na itong Russia-Ukraine war, he has no appetite to continue this anymore, and he wants an early finish of this war. At yan ang nakikita natin na pinakamalaking aksyon na gagawin ni Trump, well, as far as yung kanyang pinangako, hindi ba? So, the re-election of Donald Trump would certainly lead to the recalibration of different foreign policies ng iba't ibang bansa, katulad na rin ng Pilipinas.
At alam naman natin na iba yung foreign policy ni Trump at nitong si Biden. Kumbaga nakikita mo rin na maaari ding magbago ang galaw ng kasalukuyang administrasyon sakaling si Trump ang manalo?
I think kasi hindi pa malinaw ang posisyon ni Donald Trump pagdating dito sa ating region. Malinaw na kanyang posisyon ay yung sa Ukraine and Russia. He wants it finished as early as possible. because he sees the aid to Ukraine as just another waste of money year on year, di ba? Kaya nga ang tawag niya kay President Zelensky is the greatest salesman that he knew, because every time that he goes to the United States, he goes away daw with 60 billion. That's the joke of former President Donald Trump. So, yun lang ang malinaw. But kung titingnan natin yung mga pahayag ng kanyang mga allegedly mga military advisors dito sa ating region, parang ang nakikita nilang strategy is yung tinatawag na offshore balancing, na hindi na kailangan ng it's the United States who should be actively balancing or containing China, but their allies. So parang ang gusto nilang strategy is just to keep on arming those allies in order to quote-unquote contain China.
At kapwa ang kasalukuyang presidente ng Pilipinas at dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte nagbigay ng pahayag matapos nga yung assassination na attempt kay dating President Donald Trump. And for sure, nabasa mo siguro, medyo mas mahaba-haba lang ito at mas malaman itong kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, kung saan nababanggit niya yung panggigipit dahil nga itong si dating President Donald Trump parang kagaya din dito kay Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte na inulan ng mga batikos dito kay dating President Trump, inulan ng maraming mga kaso, tapos ito pa at naniniwala si dating Pangulong Duterte na may kaugnayan, malaking tsansa na may kaugnayan itong assassination attempt sa darating na halalan. Nabanggit dito ng Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, lalo na yung sa pangalawang line ng kanyang sinabi, "Together with all democracy-loving people around the world, we condemn all forms of political violence. The voice of the people must always remain supreme." Tingin mo, saan kaya niya hinugot ito? Ito ba'y hinugot niya dahil ito yung umiiral ngayon dito sa ating bansa?
Well, I think it's just the template na message of solidarity yung binitawan ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. And I think dun na lang yon, no? Yun lang yung we don't even know whether it is actually yun yung pinapatupad niya bilang presidente sa ating bansa, yung kanyang wini-wish sa United States.
At nabanggit nga niya dito, sabi, "The voice of the people must always remain supreme." Yet marami mga insidente na panggigipit pag ikaw ay kaalyado or sumusuporta dito sa mga Duterte, ikaw ay unang patatahimikin. Nagkakaroon nga ng mga kaliwat ka ng mga rally, mga maisog rally para marinig ng taong bayan, may voice out din yung kanilang mga hinaing. Yet nagkakaroon po ng marami mga parking lot ng mga truck at mga traktora. Nandun yung mga panggigipit. Kaya questionable kung saan nanggaling at hinugot ng kasalukuyang presidente ang kanyang mga pahayag. Pero dito sa... yes, may dadagdag ka, Sas?
Well, ang ano naman kasi niyan, the Philippine politics is a poor copy of US politics. So whatever we are witnessing in the United States, it seems na ganoon din yung takbo ng politika sa atin. But we are a poor copy of US politics because of course it's a more advanced economy, and of course it had a long history of being a Republican, being a republic and a democratic system. But the thing is, yung takbo ng ating politika is a mirror image of the United States.
Dito po sa naging survey naman ng Pulse Asia, mula noong nakalipas na taon sa unang bahagi ng pamumuno ng Marcos administration, itong mga lumalabas ngayon na pangunahing concern ng taong bayan, ito rin yung top dati pa. Mas dumami pa ang naggumigit nito na ito'y dapat tugunan ng ating pamahalaan. Marami ng mga ginagawang hakbang, sinasabi nila na ginagawang hakbang ang pamahalaan, nag-iikot ang Pangulo at dinibdepensa kung bakit nag-iikot, nagpapakilala daw sa buong mundo para makahimok ng mga foreign investors na mamuhunan dito na for sure makakasagot dito sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan ng taong bayan. Ngunit sa kabila nito, still, nananatili pa ring mataas, lalo na itong pagkontrola sa inflation, paghiling nila na taasan ang sahod ng mga manggagawa, mabawasan yung haka-hakang kahirapan ng mga Pilipino. And nakita din natin yung resulta, no? Inilabas ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, ginamit din ito na datos ni Rigoberto Tiglao sa kanyang column, na bumaba yung foreign direct investment. Kung ikukumpara natin sa unang 2 taon ng Duterte administration sa unang 2 taon ng Marcos administration, may nakikita ka bang pagbabago sa pulisya? Kasi 2 taon na May nakikita ka bang pagbabago ng pulisya na pwedeng makapag-adjust ang Pangulo ng kasalukuyang administrasyon or same as useless pa rin?
Well, kung meron mang pagbabago, sana makita natin. So, yun na lang yung ating mabibitawan doon. So kung nakikita ninyo yung mga concerns ng mga tao dyan, they are all internal. Hindi ba? Kung susumahin mo yan, 3 ang major concern ng mga Pilipino. One is price, second is jobs, and the third one is good governance. Hindi ba? So yun yung nakakaapekto talaga sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na buhay. At yan dapat ang tutukan, hindi ba? Nakakatuwa nga, Admar, MJ, no? Kung ito'y narinig nyo na, yung parang sa Inquirer ata, may balita, merong, I think, is he a current Navy officer, Navy general? Or, na ang sabi niya na ang China is inexperienced in war, ang US, ang Chinese Navy. So parang, you know, he's trying to he's just trying to boost the morale, etc. Yeah, pero kung titingnan natin, bakit nga ba inexperienced sa war ito? Ano bang pinagagawa ng China for the last 40 years? No? China was winning and is still winning against all the wars that are important. War against poverty, war against ignorance. You know, it educated a lot of its people. It lifted out of poverty a lot of its people in one generation, educated a lot of its people in one generation, beat the West in STEM, no? Science, technology, engineering, and math. Hindi ba? Now it's beating the West in terms of economy. So in terms of itong war na pinagsasabi nung ating magiting na general ata ito ng Navy or magparetiro na, talagang wala silang experience because they are winning against all the important wars. No, that's important for their own people, and now they are on their way on beating the war against climate change, I think much better than we do. No, they were able to beat the war against pollution sa Beijing. That's why Beijing, in just a decade, it's no longer a polluted. It's no longer a polluted country just like before. So these are the wars that matter. At kung titingnan natin, itong most urgent national concern ng ating mga tao, no, these are the wars that are important for our people to win. No, hindi itong mga ano nila video game fantasy, no? And nakikita mo corruption. Have we won the war against corruption or we just accepted it? di ba, war against inflation, war against poverty. These are the wars that matters that we should be actually spending our energy on. And it seems na hindi ito yung tinututukan, kundi ang nangyayari is hinihimok tayo sa isang issue na hindi mo naman mariresolve ito sa gusto ninyong paraan. You will never ever resolve it there. Actually, you will delay the further development of the country by focusing your resources on an issue that has nothing to do with the further development of the nation. At ito nakikita natin ito, nagsalita ng taong bayan, ano ba ang kailangan nila? Ang kailangan nila is affordable goods and services, affordable food, hindi ba? Jobs,
Kahirapan.
matigil na ang corruption, matigil na ang gutom, security and safety of the streets. These are the things that matter to everyday Filipinos.
Nababanggit mo yung kaligtasan, no? Yung promoting peace in the country tsaka yung fighting criminality, pwede natin yung pag-isahin na eh. Dito sa promoting peace, 13% ang nagsasabi na importante ito na bigyang tugon. Yung fighting against criminality, 11, kung pagsusumahin mo, na nasa mahigit 20 rin ito. So pangunahin din na pangangailangan ng taong bayan. Pero ang kapansin-pansin dito, Sas, ang maraming nagsasabi, maliban dito sa Mindanao, na dapat makontrola na, mapigilan itong patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo na mabili, na itong Balance Luzon. Kung saan alam natin, nanggagaling dito yung ating Pangulo kasi 77 sa Mindanao, ang Balance Luzon 74, Visayas 66, NCR 67, at ito pa. Doon sa mga class, nangunguna dito ang Class E 74, 73 Class D, pero yung ABC, 64% nagsasabi na ito rin. So, pati na yung may kaya sa buhay, nagre-reklamo na rin sa mataas na presyo ng mga bilihin.
Well, para na siyempre nagre-reklamo na sila dahil nga naapektuhan siyempre ang kanilang pang-araw-araw na buhay. So, it is a major concern for everyone.
Si partner MJ.
Hi, Sas. Yaman na nagpag-usapan natin yung US. Usapang panglabas muna tayo ng bansa. Well, recently, meron na palang joint naval drills ang Russia at China. South China Sea pa talaga. Anong masasabi mo doon?
Well, that's expected. No? That is expected. If you di ba nga umalma nga ito si Putin because itong deployment ng mid-range missiles dito sa Pilipinas, inilagay ng United States. And we have talked about this before, na before ito ay napagkasunduan na wala nang ma-manufacture nito. But the thing is, sometime I think it was during the time of Donald Trump, na they stopped, they exited from the treaty, regulating, if not totally banning, the manufacturing of this kind of missiles, and now may deployment na. And of course, you are changing the security architecture of the region by introducing this missile. But kanino mo ba ipo-point out yan? Di ba? Sino ba sa tingin natin ang ita-target ng US ng mga missiles na yan? Of course, it's going to be ang kanyang minention sa kanyang national security strategy noong 2022. Diba? It's Russia and China. Yun ang dalawang kinoconsider ng United States na kanyang rivals, if not outright enemies. So what do we expect na ang gagawin ng dalawang bansang ito? And I'm pretty sure, Russia and China do not want the Philippines to get involved in this. As I think, China and Russia would rather see a neutral Philippines. Dahil wala naman, they don't want us to be involved, no? in whatever the United States want to plan against China dahil what do you think the military strategies of China and Russia would do? Even though na ayaw ng China and Russia na madami ang Pilipinas. And kasama ka sa supply line nung gustong magpabagsak sa kanila at maghamon ng gera. So you will be treated like a legitimate military target. So itong joint naval drill ng China and Russia is to be expected.
Tsaka pag nagkaroon daw ng flashpoint, sabi ng ating mga kababayan, pangamba, ang magiging labanan dyan, 2:1. Kasi syempre, hindi naman tayo kikwentahin. Alam lang tayo, Pilipinas. So ang kukwentahin dito, US. Kakalabanan niya, China at Russia. Sa ganun pa lang, di ba, ang sinasabi, pag Russia, natatanging bansa raw na pag-isip ng dalawa, think twice sa US bago gumawa ng mga hakbang. Anong masasabi mo doon?
Well, the United States will never confront directly a peer-level force. Okay? So, ang kanyang mga peer-level force ay Russia and China. Kaya kita mo dito sa Ukraine, di ba? You never see the United States directly going into an armed conflict.
Correct.
With Russia. Ang pinopronta niya ay Ukraine, dinadaluyan niya ng pera. And dito sa China, and of course, hindi talaga yan makikipag-direct confrontation itong United States. Japan will never do that as well. No? Or South Korea or Australia. Kailangan nila ng pampronta. No? And of course, ang pampronta nila is the most dispensable in the region, and that is the Philippines. Why are we the most dispensable? Because our economy is not necessary in the functioning of the world. Just like Ukraine, they might have some ripple effect, but it would not be as damaging. Nobody would miss the Philippines if ever we would become another we become the Ukraine in the region. So, ang nangyayari dito is we put ourselves in a situation that is not going to be beneficial for the nation in the long run. This might be beneficial for the ego of the officials of the Bongbong Marcos administration, because they might feel na, finally, we're part of the free world. We're going to be the frontliners of the fight for democracy in Asia. But who are they kidding? These are all ego-tripped and misguided priorities for a developing country like the Philippines.
Binanggit mo in the long run, ito siguro marahil ang nagiging dahilan kung bakit may mga napapabalitang tunggalian sa hanay ng ating mga opisyal sa armed forces na siya namang binigyan ng paglilinaw na nagkaroon ng mga pahayag ang armed forces na walang ganoon, na walang pag-walkout sa kanilang mga top leadership sa isang civilian top official sa Marcos administration. Dahil nga siguro itong mga dynamics sa mga pinagagawang teritoryo sa South China Sea, alam naman natin talaga na kung ano yung pinakamainam na solusyon.
Well, wala naman tayo. Well, the AFP, I believe, denied that it happened, no? Yung kumakalat, mga nag-walk out daw, and etc. But the mere fact na merong mga ganyang bulong-bulungan, I think naman Admar and MJ, the military are not stupid. If I may use that word, because I cannot find other more diplomatic word to replace that. I'm pretty sure the military knows, na hindi ito ang tamang solusyon. And yang pinupursige nila, the military is very professional. They know how to calculate a victory. They know how to calculate a stalemate. They know how to calculate a losing war. And I'm pretty sure itong mga nananatiling tapat at professional at at actually may paninindigan at nananalig at tuwid ang pagtingin sa sitwasyon at hindi nagmumula sa isang emosyonal na kalagayan, nakikita nila na hindi ito ang magsusulong ng interes ng bansa in the long run, because we already know what happened to Ukraine, and we might not become Ukraine. What if we become a Cuba? Hindi ba? Na the giant neighbor of Cuba, the United States, cut economic ties sa Cuba. And what happened to Cuba? Hindi ba? Hindi malayong mangyari sa atin yan, no? If China won't engage us in a war, it might just do a Cuba style kind of relationship with us na wala tayong economic ties. So bahala ka na makipag-deal sa iba, but you're not gonna have economic ties with your neighbor. So ayun ang ating nakikita dyan. There might be some people in the military, it might not be the one na nandoon sa command conference. Kasi I verified this, no? There are different versions of the story. So that's why I cannot forward the other story, kasi I cannot verify. My different sources have contradicting statements regarding this. So I cannot say na the more famous narrative is actually correct.
Tsaka, susugan ko lang sinabi mo, pag nagpatuloy itong ganitong tahak sa ating foreign policy in the long run, do you think makaka-apekto ito sa stability ng AFP? Dahil, syempre, may nagsabi sa akin, retired general na kung meron mang Pilipino na ayaw ng digmaan, sila number one mga sundalo, dahil sila ang number one na masasawi sa front lines kung mangyari man ang isang digmaan. SAS.
You know, MJ and Admar, in international relations, your first soldiers are your diplomats. You know, of course, they are not using guns and what have you in order to win a war. In international relations, your frontliners are your diplomats, and your diplomats, their agenda is actually to find a middle way. That's what diplomacy is, hindi ba? Etong iyong assets, itong physical assets mo, no? The one that you're going to use in order to transform what's supposed to be a battle of brains into a battle of bronze, mag-resort ka lang doon if it's actually very necessary. No, very necessary. And if you think that there is an actual calculation there. Now, if you think that sacrificing their lives will actually give you more than what you currently have, then you do it. There is actually a real calculation that has to be done in order for you to actually transform your policy from a policy of a battle of brains to a battle of bronze. Hindi ba? How long do you think a country needs in order to produce a soldier? You need at least 18 years for someone to grow up to actually train, and then maybe 5 more years. So 25 years to produce one soldier. So that is the kind of investment, no? You are investing 25 years of your people's lives. So dapat may malinaw na return of investment dun sa 25 years na yon. Hindi ba? Are we going to waste those 25 years forgetting what? Hindi naman, napaka-komplikado ng usapin ng South China Sea conflict. Hindi na naman China ang ating kalaban dyan. It's just meron dyan Vietnam. Nandyan din yung Taiwan, which is the same claim as Beijing, because it is both the Chinese claim. Nandiyan ang Malaysia, nandiyan ang Brunei, di ba? So, what exactly is the end game here. And I think may mga kasundaluhan tayo, and maybe generals who cannot see the end game. Kasi kailangan may end game ka eh. Hindi ba? And of course, when you know the end game, you would calculate whether is this actually feasible. If it's not feasible, why are you doing that? You're just sending your men on a suicide mission on a goal that cannot be achieved. Hindi ba? So, parati ko nga sinasabi, no? If your diplomats are failing, the solution is not to send your soldiers to die. The solution is to change your diplomats and maybe the chief architect, because it is a signal of a failing diplomacy. Di ba? Or maybe an end game that is undefined. That's why pabale-balentong yung policy.
Sas, ito bang bagong pinasok na kasunduan ng Pilipinas, itong Reciprocal Access Agreement, makatutulong ito sa atin or makakadagdag lalo sa target ng mga nagiging kalawan? Kasi kilalang kalyado din ng Estados Unidos itong Japan eh.
Well, maybe you can ask the Japanese directly, do you really want to go to war against China and Russia? As simple as that, you know, kasi all these things are just posturing, no? And maybe something that could massage the ego of our officials. The bottom line is, do we really think that Japan will go to war against China and Russia? Have you guys been to Japan? Do you really think that they would sacrifice that kind of level of development in order to go to war against China and go to war against Russia in order for us to enjoy several low tide elevation? Come on.
Mm. And
real talk, go to, you know, real talk. If you have may mga kamag-anak kayo sa Japan, go to Japan. Ask your relatives in Japan. Ask them the kind of level of development. Then ask them, do they really think that Japan would really sacrifice that kind of development in order for us to enjoy what? Fishing?
Sas, ang Jakarta Post ay naglabas ng editorial na artikulo dated July 11. Basahin ko lang yung ilan sa mga nakasaad dito sa The Jakarta Post kasi nagkaroon din sila ng pag-question dito sa pinasok na kasunduan ng Pilipinas sa Japan. Sa unang linya, like other ASEAN members, the Philippines has the right to protect its sovereignty and national interests. This includes forming a bilateral defense pact as it did with Japan on Monday. Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa and Philippines Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro inked the Reciprocal Access Agreement in Manila. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. witnessed the signing without the attendance of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. The Marcos government apparently did not inform or consult fellow ASEAN members about the defense treaty beforehand, which it was supposed to do given the impact of the government in the region. The signing had been well anticipated, however, as President Marcos and PM Kishida had announced the plan in November. Neither has there been any initiative from Manila to send a special envoy to brief other ASEAN leaders about the new alliance, at least as a matter of diplomatic courtesy. Nabanggit din dito, true, Article 2 on the principle of the 2007 ASEAN Charter says, all members shall act according to mutually agreed principles, including, quote-unquote, respect for the right of every member state to lead its national existence free from external interference, subversion, and coercion. But the Charter also mandates, quote-unquote, enhanced consultations on matters seriously affecting the common interest of ASEAN. This means the Philippines, ASEAN neighbors, have the right to be informed about the purpose and context of the military pact. This is also the case for Marcos' decision to boost Manila's defense alliance with Washington, including the opening of more military bases for United States. Dito sa last two line naman ng artikulo, sinasabi dito, ASEAN's passivity will only leave the region vulnerable to becoming a theater of competition, if not war, between great powers. ASEAN leaders should talk loudly, clearly, and in unison about the potential of the Philippines-Japan military pact to ruffle many feathers in the region and beyond. The leaders need to remind each other about the old commitment to keep the region as a zone of peace and neutrality that outside powers must respect. Ano masasabi mo dito, Sas?
Well, Admar MJ, this is very understandable commentary from a Indonesian political columnist. Am I correct?
Editorial board editorial board mismo ng the
editorial
Jakarta
board of Jakarta Post. Well, given the history of Japan in the region, and I think everyone knows the history of Japan in the region of what it actually did, hindi ba? And the Philippines was actually one of the theater of that kind of war, and of course the Japanese expansionist agenda. Hindi ba? We had a bitter memory during World War II when Japan occupied us. So given that history of Japan in the region, I think this will really ruffle feathers. Hindi ba? And it was just like 50 years ago. Diba? Almost 50 years ago, about 50 years ago, when the region experienced what Japanese militarism is, and this is still fresh for in the minds of some of the Asian countries, and which have all been occupied. Some of them have been occupied by Japan, and definitely, itong ginagawa ng Japan is, you don't know what exactly is this for, hindi ba? Why are you, who are you going to fight? Is it going to be China again? Why exactly do you want to fight China in a war? What exactly? Who's going to benefit? Definitely, Asian countries will not benefit. If there's going to be a war in this region, ngayon pa nga lang bumabangon uli ang Asia, no? After 500 years of being subjugated to Western imperialism. And here you are preparing for something that could plunge Asia once again into a zone of chaos. Di ba? So itong Asian countries, simple lang ang gusto nila. They want development. Development. They want prosperity. So in order for you to have that, you must have a stable environment and, you know, a manageable neighborhood na hindi ka nag-i-introduce ng unnecessary tension in the region. Etong ginawa, etong additional US bases, it actually made the tension more dense. And nagsama ka pa ng Japan, and hindi ba na, ano ba yung gusto mo? Are you with us? Parang ganyan ang gustong message ng editorial board na to. Ano ba talagang gusto mo, Manila? Do you want development? Do you want development, or do you want to be the site of a proxy war? Hindi ba? Kasi itong mga kapitbahay natin sa ASEAN, kasama natin sa Asian countries, they don't want this, you know? They don't want this kind of instability. They just want further development. They want prosperity. And then they want to lift their people from a life of poverty. And ang nakikita nila is, actually, China is becoming a partner towards development. And here you are introducing these military bases, now you have this defense pact with Japan. What is actually the agenda? Is it within the agenda of the ASEAN country, which is centered on the continuous development of the region? And Manila, the Malacanang has to actually say that, because ang nangyayari nito, we are becoming isolated from our own region. Hindi ba? Sinasabi natin ASEAN centrality, sinasabi niya ni Bongbong Marcos, and now sabi nitong editorial board ng Jakarta, paano ito? Hindi naman pala kayo nakipag-consult kung ano ba itong defense pact na to, para saan ba ito, and how is this going to affect the regions? Walang consultation. So, nakikita ngayon ng ating mga kapitbahay na we are saying something but doing a different thing. Diba? Sinasabi ng Bongbong ASEAN centrality, but you're not consulting ASEAN region about something that might affect the stability of the entire region.
Kung di ako nagkakamali, pang beses ko na narinig ito kasi yung una, yung dating opisyal ng Singapore ata, yung sa foreign ministry nila, nung nagbanggit na nung panahon na naghain ng sa arbitration case ang Pilipinas, hindi rin kinonsulta ang ASEAN members, no? Yet,
that was George Yeo.
Oo.
That was George. Ayun na nga. Kasi, if you want our help, consult us. Hindi ba? Hindi ko pwedeng, kasi sasabihin mo, ASEAN, kailangan backupan nyo. Paano ka nga babackupan? Hindi ka naman nakikipag-consult. Maybe the wiser leaders of other ASEAN countries would have a better approach in dealing this rather than what you are doing, hindi ba? And I think, Filipino officials need to be humble enough that other ASEAN countries might have a better path in dealing with the South China Sea conflict. After all, their country's level of development has already outpaced us, and it actually points to the competence of their officials. So maybe their officials are better than us, so we should listen to them, diba? Given the disparity of the level of development between the Philippines and other ASEAN countries, of course, the major ones, no? Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Brunei, hindi ba? And sila rin ito nagsasabi na maybe you should have consulted the ASEAN leaders before doing something that might affect the stability of the entire region. So this is not, kaya tama ka dyan, Admar, this is not the first time an ASEAN that we heard something like this from our neighbors.
Hindi ba siya parang nakakahiya sa isang bansa? Kasi halimbawa, itong sa ASEAN, consistent sila, yung mga ibang members ng ASEAN, consistent sila sa kanilang polisiya, neutral. Nung nakapanayam nga itong si Mahathir Mohamad, nabanggit din niya na dapat walang piliin. No? Dapat maging neutral lang. Pwede kang makabenepisyo sa Estados Unidos, pwede ka rin na makabenepisyo sa China. Wag lang yung, kumbaga, meron kang super BFF dyan kasi magagalit yung isa. Pero dito sa atin, medyo, sabi mo nga, parang na-isolate tayo dahil iba na yung ating galaw compare dito sa, kasi wala namang sigalot, di ba? Ang more on sigalot dito, yet marami namang mga ASEAN neighbors natin na kasama dun sa dispute dyan sa South China Sea, West Philippine Sea. Pero ang mas matindi lang yung tension, Pilipinas at itong China.
Well, ang isa lang yan, no? The ASEAN countries want development. And this is not about having a BFF country or whatever. It all boils down to sino ba? Who among you, whoever would like to invest in the development of the region, you're welcome. Because that's the agenda, development, hindi ba? Kaya hindi ka po pwedeng you need investment, you need development partners, you need all these things in order to lift your people up from poverty. So everyone's welcome, hindi ba? So if the United States believe that its investment can help lift ASEAN people from poverty, you're welcome. If Chinese investment could help lift Asian people from poverty, you're welcome. Hindi ba? Ganun lang kasimple yan. Sino ba ang magbe-benefit sa gulo? Hindi ba? We already know who would benefit from a chaotic Asian region. It is the United States, nobody else.
At ang kapansin-pansin dito, parang ikaw din ata yung nakapanayam ko nang nabanggit mo, di kong usapin dito sa South China Sea, West Philippine Sea, napakaraming mga tagapagsalita. Pero pag usapan sa ibang gera kontra dito sa inflation, sa kahirapan, sa graft and corruption, hindi ganun karami yung mga tagapagsalita, Sas.
Ewan ko nga, no? Hello sa mga general na nanonood sa atin. Kamusta na po ang war on corruption? Are we winning the war on corruption? Oh.
Pero siguro...
Isip-isip naman po tayo.
Bilang panghuli na lang, Sas, kung wala nang tanong si partner MJ, ikaw, nakasubaybay ka kahit noong Presidential Bongbong Marcos, yung Senator Bongbong Marcos, at ngayong President Bongbong Marcos, kasi kabilang ka rin sa Kumilates doon sa the deep probe, yung sa presidential debate. So nakita mo, kung ikaw ang tatanungin sa loob ng 2 taon na pamumuno ng Marcos administration, ano ang grado na maibibigay mo sa ating Pangulo, lalo na sa usapin sa foreign policy natin, yung ugnayan natin sa panglabas, at bakit?
Well, foreign policy-wise, I will give the Bongbong administration a failing grade. Super failing grade. Una-una, it is because hindi niya tinupad ang kanyang pinangako nung siya'y tumatakbo. So, binudol niya yung taong bayan. Hindi ba binoto siya dahil dun sa kanyang kanyang pangakong continuity ng mga polisiya ng Pangulo. Ikalawa, more than that, is nakikita natin yung epekto ng kanyang foreign policy right now. Hindi tayo mapakali. Hindi ba? Siya na rin na nagsabi, the Philippines is now in the front lines like in World War II. Sinabi niya yan sa speech niya sa Australia. So, if your country is in the front lines, like in World War II, ibig sabihin, lagapak ka na. Lagapak ka na sa foreign policy. Bakit? Kasi bakit naging ganyan yung bansa mo? Sino sisisihin mo dyan? Alam mo naman si Duterte, ikaw ng presidente dyan. You alone should be blamed for what's going on. Hindi ba? Ikaw na nagsabi, front lines na tayo katulad ng World War II. No one among us na nag-support sa ng election may pakiramdam na sasabihin mo yan sometime in your presidency, no? And it seems that you were even proud of it doon sa Australia. So it is actually the very, very simple of how the foreign policy of this administration is leading the country not to a situation of development but further destruction.
Ay, Sas.
Pahabol lang.
Sige.
Pero nakikita mo ba doon sa 2 taon na may tsansa pa siyang magbago? Or wala na? Kasi considering pag merong mga pagpuna sa kanyang pamumuno, pinapatahimik yung mga pupupuna sa kanya.
Well, I'm not going to speak about a lot of his presidency in general, no. But in terms of foreign policy, now we are seeing adults like Executive Secretary Bersamin seen overpowering the children in the administration. So maybe there, in a way, there is some sign that things might change, but in other policies, I don't think he's leading the nation in a way that would give comfortable life to a lot of Filipinos.
Sas, huli na lang, nagpapatanong yung ating mga kababayan. Ano bang komento mo doon sa designated survivor remarks ni VP Sara?
Well, it was a joke and it should be treated as a joke.
Kasi
That's all.
Marami gusto nga.
Yung pumatol ba, joke din? Yung
Yung
pumatol?
pumatol, joke.
Oo, joke din ba yun sila?
I think it's better that they actually start liquidating their MOOEs with actual receipt.
Matindi nga.
Mas
naman yan,
matutuwa yung taong bayan dyan.
Tama, ano? Kaysa,
Naku, baka magurgur na naman kayo dyan. Kayo nagurgur before eh.
nasa online
So-
naman tayo eh.
Oo.